Okay, everybody, again, thank you guys all for coming today. This is unfortunately, our second annual fundraiser. And the reason why was because we won, but they're not listening to us. So I would like to first of all thank some folks before we get started. Obviously, the first person I want to thank is my lovely bride, Michelle, who really knows how to put on a party. Thank you, Nick. Also, the board members of Fair Fairs. If you are a board member, please raise your hand. Okay, these are the folks who are fighting on your behalf, and I can't tell you how much effort they put into this, or we have put into this. We've been saving everybody's money because we're doing a lot of the work that the attorney should be doing, but Cindy Camp is just digging in. So let me go ahead, and there will be also folks from GPAC and from the Ferry Committee who will talk later this afternoon. But first, let's talk about Fair Fairs.
Well, Fair Fairs, we got going over 2 years ago, and it was really in response to a number of... You can't hear? Okay. Fair Fairs got started about 2 years ago. It was really in response to egregious fare increases that were historically unprecedented and were even difficult to follow. For years, we had an active ferry committee. For years, we participated in the discussions about fare increases and how they worked. For years, we understood the budgeting process. It was based on a 5-year rolling average of actual expenses. And then in August 15th, I won't forget the date, of 2023, the county introduced a new methodology of raising fares and setting fares, and it was based on all projected budgets. Projected budget for the year you were in, which is not unusual, but then 2 years projected budgets into the future. And what resulted from these projected budgets was at the first year a 15% fare increase, the next year a 30% increase, and the following year a 30% increase. That's the year we're in now. And we said that, well, can we understand the numbers? And the answer, which unfortunately happened at the same time, was that the Ferry Committee was basically disenfranchised. They said, we don't have to meet with you, we don't like the way that you're elected on the island, even though it's the same way that the county commissioners are elected and had been for many years. So the communication really went to pieces. And we realized that we were in a different world. So we started the Fair Fairs group, and it ended up in an appeal of the 2025 fare increase. And that in the state of Washington, you have the right to appeal any county board decision. Have to do it within 20 days. We did, and we set the appeal. We filed all of the paperwork. It was a long process, and we finally got a judge's ruling. Because it has to be filed in the Superior Court of Skagit County, all of the judges of Skagit County properly recused themselves. So the court had to go out and find a judge, and that judge is from Orcas, Friday Harbor, San Juan Islands, and she listened to the case. We had to produce a lot of documentation, and she ruled January 15th of this year on two major points in our favor. And it's a high legal bar, as we were warned when we were out looking for an attorney. You have to show that the county has acted in an arbitrary and capricious manner. That's a legal definition. And she found in our favor on 2 counts that the county had indeed acted in an arbitrary and capricious manner in the way they set the fares. In other words, if you increase dramatically the O&M by whatever means possible, then our fares are based on that top line calculation. And the judge determined that the county had consistently, improperly mixed capital into the O&M budget. There's two big divisions in accounting, and it has to do with how you apportion your money in a business or a county, but you really shouldn't be, you shouldn't really be mixing capital in O&M. She agreed with that and rescinded that resolution, remanded it to the board for recalculation. The other one was one that we thought particularly egregious, and that was that they had sold quite a few punch cards right following the shutdown that occurred with COVID. And those cards were all stamped non-expiry. If you remember back at that wonderful time when we got an actual punch card, and it said a date on it, usually 90 days out, you had to use it up by then. Okay, these were sold non-expiry, and all along they had sold what was called a convenience card, a 10 punch card, no reduction in fare, but it was also stamped non-expiry. Okay, so we pointed that out to the judge, and she said, yeah, that's basically a violation of contract law. You can't sell somebody and say non-expiry, and then the county said a year later, oh, well, they're going to expire. First they said they were going to expire at the end of 2025, and then they redid that somewhat so that you could turn them in, but the turn-in period still ended at the end of this year, 2026. And so she found in our favor on those two, remanded both of those resolutions for redo with the Board of County Commissioners. And essentially, after that, nothing happened. They didn't do anything. So we were put in touch with their attorney, and we were supposed to have a series of documentation that we received from them and a way to work through this. That just kept being delayed and delayed and delayed. And then in April of this year, they did the recalculate. They made a math error in the 2026 fares, in which they basically they applied a 30% increase to all fare categories except they missed trucks. Okay, and when that was presented to the commissioners saw it and weren't happy, and so they went back and they recalculated that. And that, because that's a fare change, it had to go back in front of the commissioners in April of this year, and we did submit public testimony, but our public testimony was, wait a minute, you're recalculating one part of the 2026 fares. What about the fact that you're supposed to be recalculating the 2025 fares? No answer. We just did it, and that's fine. So based on that accumulation of inactivity, inability to communicate with them, and the fact that they were recalculating 2026 fares already, we filed on June 11th, a motion. It's called a motion to enforce with the court. That is, the court then, we hope, will order the county commissioners, you've got to recalculate the 2025 fares before you go forward. Okay, that motion has been filed June 11th, and then we've also asked for hearing dates. So the court has not come back to us and given us any hearing dates yet. So we don't know, we don't know two things. One, the court has to acknowledge the motion to enforce. And that hasn't been officially done yet, although it's been filed. That will probably happen, but we don't know when we'll get a date of oral argument. So we did not plan that the county would totally disregard a court order. We're learning, we're still learning, and that's why we're here today. And the other thing I want to say is that the only reason we're here today is you were here last year. Because without your support, we could not have afforded the attorney work that we have had to do in order to get the original judge's ruling. And the fact now that we have to go back and file a motion to enforce is why we're coming back to you wonderful people. We think we're in quite good position here, but the county remains pretty recalcitrant. So that's why we're all here. So before I do anything else, I want to thank you for last year. Thank you so much, because without your support, we couldn't have got to this point. And now that we're at this point, we're sorry we have to come back and ask you for more money, but that's the game we're in. It's not a fun game with this county. So the other thing I should mention is that there's two ways to donate money. One is there's a wonderful person here, Jody Meekins. She's our board person, and you can write a check out, and it only needs to say Fair Fares. That's what you put in the line.
With a dollar amount.
Sign it.
I didn't
can leave that
get to
blank.
say the $1,000 amount. No. And then the other way is that if you go online, we have an account which is accessible online. It's through a company called Zephy, and it has a QR code. I know we've all learned to hate those for other reasons. But if you go on Guimas Views, you will find a link with the QR code in it, and if you just put your cell phone on that QR code, it opens the Fair Fares link in Zephy. And then you can donate via credit card one time, or you can donate, you can split it out over months if you need to. And that particular company doesn't charge a credit card fee. And that's why we went to them. And we couldn't figure it out at first, but what happens is if you donate $50 on a Monday, they don't deposit it that all the money. We have an account at Boeing Credit Union. They take about a week to 2 weeks to deposit the actual money. So they're floating some cash in there, and they're probably pretty big by now. So they're okay. but that's why you won't see a credit card charge. So we can get you those QR codes, and the checks go to Jody for Fair Fares, and that's why we're all here. And I must thank Michael and Nikki. This is terrific. Hello? Oh, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We want to cover several things. The speech I just gave you was my speech at the end. So, but what we want to do now is, as we put this together, a lot of questions have been coming up about parking lots. The parking lot on Guimas is a big question, and the parking lot and what happened in the parking lot during the last haul out is another one of these issues. So Cindy Camp has been doing a bunch of research on what happened to us at the last haul out at the Anacortes parking lot, and then following her, GPAC, that's Guimas Island Planning Advisory Committee, headed by Kathy Malley, will give you an update on where we are with the Guimas Island design in progress. So that will hopefully get us kind of up to speed. Then Alan Bush is going to talk to us about, there has been some meetings already about the new fair calculations which are coming. It's been announced in the newsletter of the ferry itself that August 4th we'll see the release of it's called the 2026 Ferry Fare Target Report. That is the report that is the basis giving you the target for the 2027 fare increase. And that will be out, and Alan is going to talk about that and some things we can expect coming on that front. Okay, Cindy.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, can you hear me okay? All right.
Put your mouth right on it.
Right on it. Steve just had his mouth on it though, so. Okay, today we're here celebrating our appeal, and as we should. That was a hard-fought win and was made possible by your generous donations. And Steve, you did a good job of thanking everybody, because really we wouldn't be here without your donations. This would have never happened. Fair Fares has also been working on several other fronts besides the fairs. We brought two concerns to the state auditor's office: Skagit County's loss of $1.2 million in federal ferryboat program funds, and one regarding capital and O&M irregularities. The good news is the state auditor's office has told us that both of these concerns will be included in their upcoming audit. So that's great news. Okay, so usually with good news, what follows?
It's bad.
Bad news. Okay, and I've got some. Now some bad news, but with it includes an opportunity for improvement. Through research and public records requests, we made a discovery about the Anacortes parking that may make your blood boil. Are you ready for your blood to boil a little bit?
Let me guess.
As it turns out, in these records we found, it was a deliberate policy decision by Skagit County Public Works to end the back and angle parking during the haul out in Anacortes. That was all 100% Skagit County's directive.
That's on 6th Avenue.
On 6th Avenue, yes. In late January 2025, Grace Kane, who had already told the county she was leaving, sent an email to the city of Anacortes canceling the back-end angle parking variance despite its previous success for 8 years. She cited a state RCW that does not exist and unnamed budgetary challenges as a reason for its demise. But Grace Kane didn't stop there. No, she couldn't just stop there. She went on, she said, she pushed the city towards police enforcement, writing that the county would encourage enhanced enforcement of parking violations by Anacortes police. Then Forrest Jones and Michael C., our new public works director, reinforced the same message, encouraging police enforcement. Just let that sit a minute. Our county officials instructed the city of Anacortes officials to ticket and tow us. Pardon me?
Along 6th
I'm
Avenue.
on 6th Avenue. Okay, so before the extended dry dock, rather than sitting down with Grimace residents to work out solutions, the county's only request was punitive enforcement. And then it got worse in 2026. The city decided to paint the curbs, they notified their neighbors, and the Anacortes PD was ready. Internally, they referred to the Guaymas Islanders as a nuisance. That is actually in an email from the police officer that's in charge of enforcement. A nuisance. And the police chief pushed towards towing. During the 2-week haul out, and 2-week May haul out, 13 citations were issued near the terminal, 8 to Guaymas residents, and at least 1 vehicle was impounded. This policy changed without a single conversation with the people it hurt the most, including residents with mobility issues forced to park blocks away, and people on fixed incomes making unnecessary trips across the channel just to move their car during a haul out. And remember, in 2025, they also eliminated the golf cart to assist the citizens who needed help to getting their vehicles parked far away. Are you mad yet?
Yes.
Well, we still don't know if the Board of Commissioners was aware of this decision when it was made. But what is clear is that Public Works made a critical policy change with no citizen input from Guaymas Islanders or even from the Anacortes neighborhood. And there's one more concern. Prior to the May haulout, Anacortes Mayor Ryan Walters publicly stated that the city is looking to enter an interlocal agreement with Skagit County to take over management of our Anacortes parking lot. Given everything I just told you, the citations, the impounded vehicle, and a police department that internally refers to Guaymas Islanders as a nuisance, that should concern all of us deeply. Fairfares wrote a letter to the Board of Commissioners asking them to restore back and angle parking variants and to retain the county control of the parking lot. This is the Anacortes parking lot. Those decisions must meet the standard the county's engineers' own guidelines demand, treating citizens, all citizens, courteously, equitably, and fairly. So far, we have not received a response from the board. That's not a shocker either. So we have here before us an opportunity to improve. If you want the angled back in angled parking back on 6th Avenue before the next haul out in March, or if you share our concerns about Anacortes taking over the parking lot, please let the commissioners know. Alan is going to talk about that, and I'll hear in a little bit about our opportunities to speak. But now I'm going to hand this over to Kathy Malley of GPAC, and she's going to talk about the other parking lot issue that we have on this side of the channel. So, all right, so thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Hey, thank you,
Fair Affairs has done really amazing work, so I just, Fair Affairs has done really amazing work, so I wanna thank you all for the time and the money that I know you all have personally put in. Has made a huge difference. I'm Kathy Malley, I'm the chair of GPAC, the Guaymas Island Planning Advisory Committee. Our job is to protect the rural character of the island and steward our environmental resources. We do that primarily by working to implement the sub-area plan, which is a very wonky county planning tool. Many people here had a hand in developing it, I think back in 2010. We have historically worked on water issues, that's still really important to us, but we got involved with this parking lot thing because it's very much a land use issue. And so we spent some time talking to the Ferry Committee. I should say that the members of GPAC include quite a bit of overlap between the Ferry Committee and Fair Affairs. GPAC is Michael Brown, Steve Orsini, Alan Bush, Gabe Murphy, Jed Burdock, myself, and Pat Richley Erickson. So there's a lot of overlap, which I think is a really good thing right now. So we kind of wade into the parking lot, the Guaymas Island parking lot, when we heard that they were actually sort of moving forward with it. It had been stalled for a long time. How many people here sort of have a general sense of what the current design looks like?
You mean the one right now?
Not the one we're living with, but the one that they have proposed. So I'm just wondering, do I need to reiterate what it looks like for people, what they're proposing? Okay, all right. So I think that fundamentally they're going to raise the south end. They're going to build a 7-foot retaining wall along Tidewater Lane. What that will do will elevate the lot, so the lot will then be generally flat. It will also reduce the number of spaces. So we can get 90, 100 cars, vehicles in there in the haul out, sometimes more, can squeeze in. They're gonna reduce it to 58. Oh my God. Yeah, there's a lot of whys. They are going to have a single point of entry, which will be on Guaymas Island Road in a spot roughly close to where it currently is, maybe a little bit closer to the water. And all the handicap spaces will be reduced. They will be in that lot. So anybody who has accessibility issues will now have to navigate a 12% grade. This doesn't, we also have to deal with all of us who have pets and kids and goods that we're hauling in a wagon. We all will have to navigate that 12% grade to get into the parking lot. So this design is a bit of a disaster. We met with Olivia from Guaymas Island Fire to sort of share our concerns, and we're like, what are you concerned about? And of course, Guaymas Island Fire had lots of concerns. So we then reached out to Public Works, and we had a telephone call, a Zoom call with Mike C., the director, and Tom Weller, who I believe is now like the chief engineer or the county engineer. So it was GPAC members and Olivia, and we walked through all of our concerns. Most of the ones that I just listed, like pretty much their whole design of the lot, and including the boat ramp. Building a 7-foot wall is gonna provide a lot of challenges for barge traffic, as well as when the boat goes out and we all have to back onto Corey's vessel, so there's a lot of challenges. So we talked through that with them, and they were like, great, thank you, this is really helpful, we'd like to come out and do a field trip. So they came out in February, this miraculously gorgeous day in February, and we had Guimas Island Fire and GPAC there, and we walked through all of the challenges. At that meeting, they reiterated multiple times that this plan was early, that they were happy to be meeting with us, that they appreciated the input. And we're like, great, that's awesome. We were hoping, and they also indicated that they would be hiring some consultants to complete the process. We were hoping at that time that they would take our input, make changes to the plan, and that the consultant would be handed a newly designed plan. We also, I should say that in our follow-up to that meeting, we sent them a letter, we reiterated all of our concerns, and we basically said, what we believe the island needs is the lot we basically have today with paved ADA in its current space, a little bit of grading, a little bit of filling in some of the low spots, and you can call it good. I think, would most of us be happy with that? Yeah. Right, yeah, so.
And another acre of parking.
Yes. No.
Here, here.
Right, so we kind of thought that they were gonna make a change to the plan, as they said, and they didn't. We didn't really quite understand the process. So working with the ferry committee, we felt like we still needed to stay in front of it, and we encouraged people on the island to send letters. And even though that was kind of out of the process and out of the sequence of how they want to do things, I think it was really helpful. So I want to thank you all who did that. I think it made a difference. In the May Ferry newsletter, the county acknowledged that they heard from us. And they heard our concerns about access, about ADA, about the grade. So, that for now is a win. We don't, that's just for now. I followed up with the county to find out what the next steps will be. So they are in the process of selecting the consultant or consultants. I think it will just be one firm is my guess. That firm is in charge with completing the design, managing the public input process, handling the engineering, and also I think working on the permits as well. So they have a big job in front of them. I encouraged and asked that the Guimas Island residents be consulted early in this process. And that at that point, they agreed to that, and they said, yes, that makes sense because we need to include islanders' feedback as they craft the contract and the deliverables associated with the contract. So, once we know, we're in a bit of a holding position now, they'll announce the consultant in September, and once we know who that is, let the badgering begin. We want to have a meeting with them on the island, whoever this consultant is, maybe at the end of the year, the beginning of next year. But we want to make sure that they hear from us. The county has said that they will share the information from the meetings that we had, the letters that y'all sent, so we'll see where that goes. I think it's important to note that the county only has funding for the design of the lot. So they have $327,000 to do the design. They have to complete this design by December of 2028. This money comes from a federal ferry boat grant that was granted in 2017. At that time, federal ferry boat funds could only be used for capital projects. Federal ferry boat funds can now be used for O&M. So we have made it clear to the county that we expect federal ferry boat funds to be used for the boat. We don't want to be spending millions of dollars on a parking lot with those funds when we could be spending that money on the boat. So we have made that clear again, where where this goes, we don't know. I would just say that we'll keep people informed. We're gonna fight for a parking lot that makes sense for the island, and that is cost effective. We're spending $2 or $3 million on Guimas Island parking lot. That's a really bad use of public resources, regardless whether it's federal money, state money, wherever. Stupid use of our taxpayer resources. So, with that, I think I'll turn it over to Alan.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we wanna try to keep questions to the end so we can get through it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, by the way, GPAC meetings are first Monday of every month at the church, 6:30, 8:30. They are just a blast.
And we're looking for new board members.
My name's Alan Bush. I'm chairman of the Guimas Island Ferry Committee. On the committee is Gabe Murphy, Becca Fong, Sherry Timoni, and Gina Haggerty. Here recently, we've got a couple of meetings coming up with regard to ferry fairs. Let's see if I can get this correctly done. So, August 4th, the draft 2026 Ferry Fair Revenue Target Report and the 2027 Fair Proposal will be posted online with an early public comment between August 4th and the 21st. August 18th, there will be a Public Works presentation, target report to the county commissioners. August 19th, Public Works will host a ferry committee community meeting, 3 to 5, location to be determined. And then September 22nd, there will be another public hearing for the 2027 fair proposal with a second public comment between September 23rd to October 2nd. And then, of course, fair adoption schedule standalone work session will be on October 20th for that. So there's a lot of dates going. I think the big thing is our release of the Ferry Fair Target Report, and then our ability to comment, written and then in person. And they will, from what I hear, want to meet here on the island in person. And so that's what we're hoping for. And whoever official wants to zoom in to that meeting, that'd be up to them. But we've wanted them to meet here in person, and that way we can bring our torches and pitchforks. But with that in mind, I do have a little statement here, and we've been at this for probably 3 years, I think. A disenfranchisement of a ferry committee or islanders in response to fairs and how islanders are treated and all of that public comment thing. So along the way, we kept back to simple phrase in my thoughts to capture everything we were talking about, and the ferry is our way home. Not just at the end of the day, home from a doctor's appointment, home from school, home from work, home from visiting family, home after welcoming a new baby into the world, home after saying goodbye to someone we love. For those of us who live on Guimas, the ferry isn't just transportation, it's how life happens. That's why people care about it so deeply. Now, many of us are here today because we have concerns about how ferry fairs have been established, and because we believe in those questions, and those questions need to be heard. Whether those questions are answered in a courtroom, a county meeting, around a kitchen table, they matter. But it asks us to think even bigger than that. Let's not make this conversation only about ferry fare increases, but let's make it about our way home. That's our goal. Then we all have a role to play if that's the goal in mind. Read the reports, ask the questions, attend a ferry committee meeting. They're monthly, every Thursday, 7 o'clock at the library. Listen to county staff, listen to our neighbors, challenge ideas respectfully, share what you've learned. The more we understand, the stronger our community becomes. I'm not here to tell you what to think, of course, but we need to explain how our ferry system affects us in plain language. Because understanding leads to better questions lead to better conversations, and better conversations lead to better decisions. No matter what happens with legal action, budgets, or future ferry projects, our hope is that this community stays engaged. Because the ferry belongs to us, all of us. It's our responsibility to understand it, it's our responsibility to care for it, and ultimately, it's our responsibility to make sure that generations from now, when someone boards that boat after a long day, they still are able to say the same thing we do. I'm on my way home.
Thank you, Alan. That was perfectly said. Before we get to questions, I just want to close by again thanking the organizations on this island that do all this work. GPAC is always looking for board members. I'm going to speak on that behalf. But it's really important to stay engaged. And I have to say, as frustrating as it is, and as disappointing as it is, it feels as though when I am engaged like this, I'm feeling like I am getting something done. So you think globally, but you act locally. We happen to have one of the most recalcitrant and poorly run counties in the whole state, certainly in the Puget Sound, and that's recognized by the Washington State Legislature. They hate giving us money because we just are really poor at spending it. But let me close by saying your support means a lot to us. I want to reiterate what Steve said. We couldn't have done this year without your donations from last year. The board this year has kicked in right off the bat $10,000 because this is what we believe in doing. Now, let me just tell you that the board, especially Cindy and Steve, have spent an enormous amount of time with our attorney doing all the public records research, finding all of the little nuggets of malfeasance in all these documents, and it's staggering. If you guys knew, like for example, Michael C. from the Public Works said in a Public Works meeting, if the Guimas people had a free ticket, they would still complain. Okay? So what we're doing today here is raising funds to continue this fight through this year because they have to, now we're not going to be giving, people don't expect money back from the county. But what we're trying to get them to do is to rejigger 25 fares successfully so that 2026 fares could then be recalculated so that when 2027 comes around, we don't get another 30% increase. Okay? That's what we're asking for. So again, go online, Guimas Fares, Fair Fares LLC, or the Guimas Views. Also might be an article on there about it with a QRC code. Jody Meekins, wave your hand back there. She's back there accepting checks. And anybody can drop checks off to any of us in our board. So again, thank you very much. And let's open up the questions. Michael Murphy.
Yeah, that $300,000 that Kathy was talking about for this study, does that come out of Guimas Island Ferry funds? so that we have to pay that on top of all the other things that we pay?
Well, I think technically no, because it's a federal ferry boat grant that is operated, that's sort of run by the Washington State Department of Transportation. And it's a capital project, so technically no, but, you know, I think as Fair Affairs has found, money gets mixed up. I don't know that particular bucket of money has gotten mixed up, I kinda doubt it. So, because of when the grant was awarded and how they have been delayed in spending it, so.
Did it have to be used for this particular study?
It had to be used for the grant was applied for a parking lot design. And so yes, it has to be used for the parking lot design.
So it takes vigilance to make sure it is.
Yeah, I mean, in the state, you know, the county let this, so they got the grant in 2017. In 2017, the county developed a parking lot plan, which is one we'd all be really happy with, actually. We have given it to them multiple times. We said, the 2017 plan was great, use that. The one that they currently have, for what they have decided, no, the 2017 doesn't work. But it's all operating under this existing federal grant. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate what the ferry fairs have done, and I do feel the lawsuit is necessary. I just want every opportunity sought for meetings on the island with people who are interested. I understand there's a newer commissioner who is showing interest in hearing and listening, and I think every effort should be made that he come to the island with others, but that he come, so that, I mean, the whole point is to talk and be heard and not to vent, because that's gonna undo whatever we achieve by his coming.
Right.
Or her.
Right.
So, but, I mean, so that we're real people with real concerns. And getting him to come should be something to work on.
And I don't know, the ferry committee with the potential meeting on the island, is that going to include the county commissioners, and can we encourage them to come?
Commissioner Weeson said he'd come.
Commissioner Weeson said he'd come, and we could try to get Joe Burns too. Steve can answer it.
By law to come once a year?
Not by law, no.
I thought by their own state, by their.
No, they're required to have a public meeting with us, but they've been having those at the county offices. That doesn't work for all of us, does it?
No.
We have to spend money to go do that? No, we have asked, and I've been, and people here will agree, I've been particularly
forceful with the county commissioners. You need to come over here to talk to us. We're not gonna bite you, but you need to be here because we don't have to spend, we don't wanna spend $20 in the middle of the day, a lot of us are still working, to go to a meeting at the county. You need to come here and see your constituent and talk to us. So that's what we're working towards.
To answer the question about communication, I want to underscore that after we got the ruling January 15th, the judge ruled in our favor on the two resolutions I told you, and then immediately the county appealed that. And the judge reheard it on the 14th or the 24th of February and immediately turned down that appeal. And so we thought, okay, it's very clear now. So Fair Affairs wrote a very clear letter to the Board of County Commissioners and the staff requesting a meeting. We wanted to meet to sort out how this was going to work, what was going to happen, and we strongly requested that the Ferry Committee be at that meeting. And the next day, they acknowledged receipt of the letter, and then we heard nothing more from them. So in April, we sent another letter with the same type of request. Let's meet, let's try to sort this out, we don't want to be back in court. And from that one, they never even acknowledged receipt of it, and we never heard a reply. So we have tried, and we prefer we prefer to sit down and talk about this, but that has not been a working avenue. The other thing is I'm loath to say this because I am now the precinct committee officer for the Democratic Party for Guimas Island, which is District 27. And so I strongly, one thing that we got to do that was somewhat meaningful is when you replace a county commissioner who's retired midterm, there's a process for that, and I ended up voting for Joe Burns, and he got selected. And so I've asked him already, Joe, you gotta come to Guimas, and he said he would. So that's separate from the possibility of getting the county commissioner over here for the Ferry Fairs meeting. So I'm gonna keep trying to make that happen. Oh, yes.
Do you have information on how the ferry revenue stream has changed since they raised the fares and people stopped driving on them?
Okay, it's a really good, I'll repeat the question. Do we have information on how the fares are working out? That is there something in a downturn in ridership? And what we have is the county began to count this. They've always counted it, but in the last 3 years, and the last 2 years particularly, there's been a downturn in ridership. And they say they can't understand this because historically we had a very flat, they can't understand it. And so this was warned about in the KPFF study that led to the model that they're using now to increase the fares. And that consultant said, don't raise fares too quickly because you hit what's called fare elasticity. And that means, well, we just got another 30% increase, I can't take my car to town anymore. I've got to cut down the number of times I'm going. So they're seeing that in their numbers, but they're not responding very well. Yes?
I really appreciated whoever put the link to watch the work study meeting that happened. I watched the whole thing. I think it lasted for over an hour. It's very staggering what they are discussing in terms of cutting the schedule and looking at the various alternatives. Also the hostility that I felt just listening to them talk about Guimas people. So I think that's up until June 30th, I think is going to be posted. But I would encourage everybody to take the time to watch it because they are letting us know what they're looking at.
Yes, so let me just, did all of you hear that? No. Could not, okay. So her comments were centered around, on May 19th, there was a Public Works / Board of County Commissioners meeting. It was not pre-publicized and it was not open to the public. But it was about an hour-long discussion on what they're thinking to do, particularly about the question you just asked, Richard, and that is what's happening to the ridership? Why is it going down? And I posted a link to that meeting. Cindy she's an unbelievable researcher. She, first of all, found that although it wasn't even announced as a ferry committee meeting or a ferry-related meeting, she found out that it was, and then she went back and you had to special request to get the video of the meeting because they weren't just automatically publicizing that one. And she got it, and we got the link to it, and I put it up on Guimas Views. That's the video that this woman is referring to, and it came to Cindy with the warning that the link would be taken down by the county on June 30th. So we have a wonderful person here from the Guimas Island Historical Society who immediately recorded the entire video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube forever.
And it's going to be you go to the Guimas Island after the 30th, you can't get to it, but go to Guimas Island Historical Society, and it will be there forever. I do want to underscore what you said, and that is that it's a very, let me just say that the attitude exhibited by the county staff is extremely discouraging, extremely discouraging. So, another question. Yes.
Sherry Moniz had one for a while.
Yes.
I was just wondering, I know they probably won't reimburse us for fares after they recalculate it towards like January, but are they stalling in order to not have to pay us back? And the wonderful thing about electronic ticketing is I have a record of every pass I've bought since January, and I could, like the tariffs, I could tell them how much extra, once they've recalculated it, perhaps they could put it into our little eBay.
Yeah, so the question is there... Oh, I'm sorry. I was almost killed by the feedback. They attack when you don't know them. The question is there any chance to get a reimbursement if the fares are recalculated, say, to 2025 of what we are paying in 2026? And I want to clarify that in our lawsuit, it's not a lawsuit, in our appeal, we did not ask that, and it's not really possible in an appeal. Unfortunately, in order to get to get an injunction to stop them from going forward with 2027, that's essentially what we're asking for in the recalculation of this. But to get an injunction where a judge could come out and stop it, we would have to change our appeal into a lawsuit. So, and that, guess what, costs more money. But, what you know, in the dead of night, what I'm hoping for a number of reasons, is that they recalculate 2025, and then go forward and recalculate 2026, and drop 2026 so that 2027 is dropped. And so what we're trying for is not financial relief, but we may have to go there. Don't know.
Stop at 2027, how about 2028?
No, this is what I refer to as the Galapagos machine. They have made no motion at all to stop this process. It just goes. Yes.
Steve, has Fairfares asked to be reimbursed for your legal expenses as part of the win?
We can't yet.
You can't yet.
Yeah.
But you might be able to.
Yes. Well, it depends on where we go with the motion to reinforce and how strong the judge is going to be on that. We want to get that back, no.
Yeah, I know it's not your primary goal, but it kind of feels like something that would be nice. Like the county would have to pay for this.
Yeah, I think in one diabolical sense, that's the only way to get their attention.
I know.
Yeah.
O&M,
So, other questions? Yes.
We've been counting the cars in the parking lot, and there's never been more than, or never been less than like 80, 85 cars, kind of midday. So if they go to a 50-car parking lot, where are those 30 cars supposed to go? There's no off-street parking on Guaymas Island.
Good question.
No,
And the more they do to us, the more they raise the rates, they force more and more people to put a car on both sides. So is the county even looking at that? Do they realize, have they been counting the cars in the parking lot?
What I can say on that, Kathy, do you want to answer that?
I can answer it real quickly. We have reiterated to them multiple times that the number of cars in the lot, and in fact, on the day that they showed up here in February, there were 100 cars in the lot in February at like 11:15. And it was so great, they had a hard time finding a parking spot. So we have said to them that this math is not acceptable. And as we start, I think when we get in with the consultant, this is going to be a very key issue, is the number of spaces and what happens to the overflow. And I will also say that the county has eliminated bus service on the island during the haul out. And if they would bring back bus service on a regular basis, then that might be helpful. You know, as a full-time basis, that might help alleviate some of the parking, but without that, we're kind of hosed, so.
Any more questions? Karen?
All this is costing a lot of money, you said numerous times, so do you have a figure in mind of how much we need to do all this?
That's a great question, Karen, thank you. It's one of those questions that it's important. I don't want to scare anybody. Last year we raised roughly $50,000, and we were down to our last shekel just about when we got our last bill from him. So it'd be great if we could get back up to $50,000, because this fight is going to go into 2027. There's no question about it. We're watching how they're behaving and how they're responding to us, and really, it's sort of funny because they say, "Well, we can't talk to you because you're suing us," and we're like, "We're suing you because you don't talk to us." So it's sort of a catch-22. We have gotten their attention. When the Public Works came over, as Kathy alluded to, February was beautiful. It was so crowded in there, they couldn't find anybody, they couldn't find parking. And then the beautiful part was that there was 2 Patelco trucks that were parked up at the break, right where the bathrooms are, you know? And they were on the upside of that break. And so we pointed out to them, look, if this is the central only egress out of here, and you've got a Patelco truck right there, and you're asking people to pull out into traffic and you can't see anything, that is not safe. That's just full stop, not safe. And they were like, yeah, okay, that's why should put that in our notes, you know. Very, very disconcerting, but that was, we were very lucky that day that we had so many cars there. And there's a reason why I have so many cars, is because you're right, people are taking 2 cars now. And somebody has asked me about the fare elasticity and the fact that there is less cars. In that Public Works video, Rachel very briefly showed them a slide that showed that the traffic suddenly went like this in 2025, and she doesn't have full year 2026 levels, but they are significantly down. Now here's the math about that. They make more money on cars. If they put less and less cars on there and more people walking on it, they're going to have to charge more for cars. And it's a death spiral. And businesses all around the country have known what a death spiral looks like. You cannot raise prices out of that, okay? So, you know, our observation is maybe you should come talk to us, because we got some pretty good ideas. We've been on this island for 100 years. We've been dealing with a ferry for that long. Our ferry committees were working great with you guys for 40 years. And now you're not even talking to them. That's a missed opportunity. We have some really bright people on this island. Gail.
Obviously, this would be my question. I didn't see on that new plan, where's the school bus supposed to park waiting to get onto the ferry? Do you have a plan?
No.
So what are they gonna do for that?
They said that there's going to be a pullout. Well, actually, they kind of didn't. They added a pullout, which took even more spaces away. So, and Olivia was down there saying, look, when there's a med run, we have to have space for the ambulance coming onto the island, and our ambulance on this side, we have to be able to have all of that. What if that's happening during a haul out when there's just, it's crazy. It's crazy making. I mean, I don't have enough time. Any more questions?
Who is in a position to fire the Guimas Island ferry manager?
Anybody want to take a swing at that pitch?
That's one of those really tricky questions, and they don't like them. They have issued on June 8th a directive on how you are to approach them in your 3-minute speech. And one of the things that you are not allowed to do is criticize any of the staff. So just by warning, they are saying that they don't like that question, but it's really the Board of County Commissioners. And right now, the Board of County Commissioners seem to be pleased with the ferry management.
Can I,
Yes,
so she specifically said the ferry manager, and I just want to ask you, do you perceive that this is coming from for ferry manager or from ferry managers plus Public Works, which is the supervisor of the ferry manager? I mean, the hidden message there is I don't think it's the ferry manager would solve all of our problems if that was,
If Public Works was still,
if Public Works was still work for them.
well, I think that's a good observation. I just, over time, I do know that the ferry manager has tremendous amount of input into what Public Works thinks and does. So, you know, she is the driver still,
But
but
parking is not anything to do with ferry manager.
no,
For example.
the parking is really, it's a different issue. It's not her issue. That's correct. It's Public Works, except,
I'd like to add to that. I think it's a combo platter of Public Works and in cahoots or combination with the ferry manager. And I say that because, and the communications manager. So it's not just one person, two person, three person. We're talking about an entire systemic problem on all levels.
But it's
And
not one person, I guess that's all I'm trying to figure out.
well, you could, yes, but that one person is involved with all of those decisions. And it's not that she's kept in a silo from those decisions or is not part of them, and nor is it's not her recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners that affect our daily lives. But it's all of their decisions that they make their recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, then they make the decisions. Or, as I pointed out earlier, sometimes they're not included in the decisions they make at all. And, but they all are together, and it appears that anything that I've found internally, they're not in disagreement with each other. They're in lockstep with each other in their decisions to the Board of County Commissioners. So, yeah, we have a big challenge. It isn't just one person, two people, three people, four people, five people. It's,
it's endemic.
It's a what? Endemic, yeah, so. Any other questions?
other questions? Yes?
What do we know about who has to pay for parking? I keep hearing rumors that Diamond Parking or, there's gonna be some system where we have to pay for parking on one or both sides. Do you know anything about that?
That has been threatened in the past. Particularly one of the commissioners who's no longer with us was pretty keen on that. That discussion seems to have dropped away, at least for now. This is my own opinion that the current design of this parking lot on Guimas was heavily driven by the requirement of that commissioner that we see paid parking on both sides. I don't think Commissioner Wiesen has gone for that because he realizes that if you enforce that on the Anacortes side, you're gonna drive more people out into the neighborhood, and that gives him a headache via the Anacortes City Council. Yes?
So it's my experience that entrenched bureaucrats only react to politicians, to the political bosses. So what are we, do we have any information on who we should support for the 26 elections at Skagit County?
Yeah, the only person who is running as a county commissioner is Joe Burns. He replaced Lisa Janicki, and at the end of her term, he has to run for election. So we're heavily supporting him.
There's one more question over here.
Just a quick question. We have a lot of talented people on the island. Is there any reason we can't request to design our own parking lot on this side? I think we would do a superior job. Parking lots are designed by specifications. Slots have to be so wide, they have to be so long. And that's something that, there are quite a few people on the island that could do that. And then we could submit that proposal instead of them spending $80,000 to design a parking lot.
Well, we have, I should say, I think Islanders, well, I'm not sure exactly when this was, there was a whole charrette done and they worked with a consultant and created one of the early parking lot designs. And unfortunately, because they applied for a federal grant, and that federal grant goes in part to pay county staff time, the citizen involvement is not included in the design. So they're using federal grant money in part to pay some of the county staff. A lot of it will go to consultants, but they're using it to pay staff, so.
In an effort to make sure that our band doesn't decide to get drunk over here by the thing, I'd like to end this by saying you're all welcome to stay as long as you want. We have lots of wine and beer and everything, and I want to thank everybody for coming. Really appreciate it.